Need I remind you what the purpose of concubines was? The purpose of sending a daughter to go off and marry another kingdom to become aligned to each other. You have to understand that whores have been used from the beginning of time to bring in the New World agenda and break down the family. I showed you how in Corinthians and Timothy, 1 Timothy, 2 Timothy, 1 Corinthians, 2 Corinthians, it talks about how women are supposed to be silent in the church and submit to their husband. And imagine, let me paint, I'll give you 5 scenarios, and all of them you're going to agree that the woman is partly to blame. Okay, one is a young teenage boy going through puberty. He's holding back. He can't understand the change. He's a little bit bigger than the average boy. He sees a 18-year-old woman dressed like a slut, we'll say like one like this, and he sees her in the alleyway, and he walks by at first and stops, and he can't resist the urge. He turns around, runs in there, and rapes her. The second scenario is a college student. He's drunk at a party. His judgment is down. His ability to make the right choice has gone down. He goes to the Halloween party, sees all these women. One of them's drunk in a room, and her panties are already down, and her dress is up a little bit, and she's in a very provocative position. And he decides to rape her. Okay. Go to the next scenario. Number 3 is in a prison. A female guard decides to walk around without a shirt on. She gets grabbed by a prisoner and raped. The next scenario, a woman goes to war, pretends to be a boy. She gets caught by the enemy, figured out. She gets figured out. She gets raped. In the last scenario, a woman is dressed like a slut. She walks down the street. She sees a gang member, and she rejects him, and he gets mad, follows her home, and rapes her. I'll even give you another scenario. A girl at the club, she lives by downtown, she dressed like a slut, and a guy follows her home and rapes her. So in every one of these situations, you see that part of what was the key decision was the woman's freedom to dress a certain way. So the consequence of giving a woman freedom to do what she wants led up to 1 in 3 women in America being raped in their lifetime. And a lot of times they don't tell what happened because they were doing the wrong thing in the first place. So it was the woman's freedom to do the wrong thing, to dress the wrong way, her freedom to marry another woman, her freedom to break all of God's rules that has broken down the family structure. And it's people like Brock Chisholm and Franz Kallman and other people who made it so this was going to be the case. So between the eugenices and the people who wish to control your mind, which overlaps in many cases, they always use women. Pornography controls your wallet, the strip clubs, the controlling the pussy. Why do people go to parties when they're in high school? They're looking for pussy. So it's like they did a study, and the average teenager and young man thinks about women a lot. And so the number one thing a righteous man must do is come to the understanding that women have become sluts, because knowing is what you need. First you got to figure out what's going on, then you got to address it. And he's got to understand how he's going to work around that and deal with that. So the women's rights movement was championed by men, and they started off, riding the back of carriages and holding signs and having little knitting committees. Oh, we're talking about women's rights, and it was mostly wicked women who were doing it. And just like there's wicked women being prostitutes, breaking down society, creating disorder, it's the same thing. The women's rights movement is just like a prostitute. Just like Queen Semiramis was a prostitute. Just like Cleopatra was a prostitute. Just like Nefertiti was sexually immoral. So every female dictator we had was a slut, all throughout history, from Joan of Arc, to every single one. So in the end, they're all a bunch of bitches. And I'll end it there. Females tend to be sluts, and I have no respect for them.